Hello, this is Lisa, CEO of Sight for White and White Sense. Welcome you to this week's Talking News on Friday, the 6th of September 2024. I come to you this week from Kent. I've enrolled on a year-long fundraising course to give me a qualification and hopefully lots more insight on how to continue to raise funds for the charity in the changing world that we now live in. So I'm on a 2-day residential and it's a year-long course, so I'm hoping to be gaining lots of new knowledge and information over the next 12 months. We have made a change to the swimming arrangements for Monday, so if you do go swimming, please don't hesitate to give the office a call to hear about the new arrangements. Nothing dramatic, but just do give the office a call to make sure that you know for the arrangements on Monday, the 9th of September. Everybody stay safe. Thank you. Lisa, CEO, Sight for White and White Sense.
Here is this week's charity news for the 6th of September. On Monday, our swimming is at Medina Leisure Centre in Newport, starting at 1:15 until 2 p.m. Please note the new timings. We have the pool to ourselves, and therefore, if you would like to swim lanes or just have gentle exercise in the pool, you are more than welcome to join us. The cost is £6, and transport is available, although limited.
We will be at our place on Tuesday, held at the West White Sports Centre between 10:30 and 12 p.m. This is a drop-in cafe-style event, and Karen Chesel will be there if you would like to drop in for a chat and coffee.
On Tuesday, we once again have yoga at Millbrook House between 1:45 p.m. and 2:45 p.m. The cost is £4 and includes refreshments.
Coffee and chat is on Wednesday, starting at 10 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. The cost is £2 to include drinks and cake. Staff are on hand to help with any queries and to demonstrate equipment.
Wednesday morning art with Maddie resumes at Parkland Centre, Park Road, Cowes, between 10 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. The cost is £10 to include all materials. Maddie is a visually impaired artist and produces some wonderful art pieces, but is also a fantastic tutor. Spaces are limited, so please call Susan to book a space.
On Thursday, our Mix and Mingle group will resume starting at 10:30 a.m. This group enjoys many activities, including craft, quizzes, singing, and each other's company. We have a limited amount of spaces available. Please call Susan to discuss further.
Our monthly walk and talk group are on Friday. The group will meet at the cycle track in Blackwater and walk to M&S for a coffee. The minibus is available leaving Millbrook at 9:30 a.m. and will call at Newport bus station en route to the start. The cost is £4 to members plus transport.
Our Community Vision and Hearing Day is at the Riverside Centre on Tuesday, the 24th of September. Please put it in your diary. Please come along and meet people offering new equipment, support, and always a friendly smile. The day runs between 11 and 2:30 p.m. On-site parking is available.
Eye on Social will be on Wednesday the 25th of September with a trip to the Isle of Wight Bus Museum in Ryde, meeting at 1:30 p.m.
A future date for the diary is Striders on the 27th September. This is a 6-mile stride around St. Helens, Bembridge and the surrounding area.
Our monthly 100 Club has spare balls available. If anyone would like to buy a ball, it is £2 a month or £24 for the full year. The more balls in draw, the higher the prize money each month. If you would like to take part in our monthly draw, please call the office. This is part of our fundraising activities. If you are interested in joining any of the activities, please do not hesitate to call the office and speak to Susan for more information.
Cowbridge Male Voice Choir to pay another visit to Isle of Wight. From the Island Echo, read by Joyce. Rotary on the Wight are delighted to be hosting the Cowbridge Welsh Male Voice Choir for their second visit to the Isle of Wight. Raising money for local and international charities, the stirring sounds of the Welsh voices can be heard at 6:30 p.m. at the newly revamped Newport Minster on Saturday the 14th of September, or the following day at Freshwater Memorial Hall at 3:30 p.m. In 2023, they performed a series of sellout concerts in Cyprus, and earlier this year performed in Jersey. For the Isle of Wight tour, they are joined by a young soloist, Esther Shoshana, a very talented young lady who is a youth member of the Welsh National Opera. Tickets are available online at www.eventbrite.co.uk. Set location to Isle of Wight, then search Cowbridge, or phone Ron on 01983 298 022.
This is Michael reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Nosey's creative clean-up of popular Newport Park. Creative colleagues at Nosey, N-O-S-Y, have been on a mission to tidy some of the island's popular recreational spaces. The team, who provide purpose-driven marketing and design services, were joined by other helpers for their latest rubbish networking event last week. Armed with bin bags and litter pickers, the group spent the morning clearing rubbish from Newport's Victoria Recreation Ground. Protecting and enhancing our environment is at the heart of our work, and it's important for us to do all we can to help keep the island litter-free, said April Turner, Nosey Operations Director. This was our third event of the year, and it has been great to welcome other like-minded people, all driven by a shared commitment to making a positive impact on the environment. We are very lucky to have so many lovely open spaces on the island, and we want to play our part in looking after them. Over 10 bags of rubbish were collected at the park on Friday, with the event's supporter, Beta Pack, disposing of it at a local waste centre. It followed other collections earlier this year at Newport Seaclose Park and Ryde Beach. In total, Nosey has organised 9 rubbish networking events to date. Jonathan Thornton, CEO at PC Consultants, has supported several of these events. He said, "These opportunities are really valuable, and it's great to come together with others to help keep our island looking its best. Thanks to Nosey for organising them, and I would really recommend coming along to the next one, as it's a great way to network and have fun while doing something positive for our local environment." The next rubbish networking event will be held at Northwood Park on Friday the 25th of October.
This is Patrina reading from the Island Echo. Help for island residents concerned about sky-high energy bills. The government has confirmed it will not reverse its decision to scrap winter fuel payments, a move that will affect around 10 million UK pensioners who do not receive pension credit. From mid-September, these individuals will lose payments of up to £300, further straining their finances. Coupled with energy prices set to rise by another 10% this October, many island residents are increasingly anxious about how they will manage their household budgets as the colder months approach. One island resident shared her concerns. With the cost of living already so high, the news of another energy price hike is really worrying. I'm anxious about keeping our home warm without the bills spiralling out of control. We need to cut our energy use, but I don't know where to start. Recognising these widespread concerns, Green Isle of Wight CIC has stepped up to provide practical, accessible support through its Energy Wise service. This free service offers personalised advice and practical solutions to help households improve energy efficiency and reduce costs. Lisa Beanie, Managing Director of Green Isle of Wight, said, "Energy Wise is here to help islanders facing the uncertainty of rising energy bills," said Lisa Beanie, Managing Director of Green Isle of Wight. "We understand the worry that comes with these increases, and our goal is to provide peace of mind. Through expert advice and practical steps, we are committed to helping our community take control of their energy use and stay warm this winter without the financial strain." Lisa Beanie, when asked about what Energy Wise is, Lisa explained, "Energy Wise provides a range of free services to help islanders manage their energy use. We offer personalised energy advice tailored to meet the specific needs of each household. Our qualified professionals can also carry out free home energy surveys, including thermal imaging, to identify key areas where you can save energy. We suggest practical solutions, whether they're simple, no-cost changes, or more significantly, energy efficiency upgrades. We can also guide you on available grants to help with costs. And of course, our friendly advisors are always here to answer any questions and support you through every step of the process. It is understood that islanders can take advantages of this advice at no cost, thanks to funding from the Department of Energy Security and Net Zero. To learn more about the Energy Wise service or to book a free home energy survey, go online or call 01983 668 900.
This is Howard reading from the Island Echo concerning plastic pollution and the British Beach Clean. Islanders are being invited to get involved in this year's Great British Beach Clean and help protect the coastline. From Friday, September 20th to Sunday, September 29th, thousands of volunteers across the UK and Channel Islands will be coming together to clean UK beaches, collect valuable data on litter, and contribute to vital marine conservation efforts. The litter data collected during this beach clean is used by the Marine Conservation Society to campaign for ocean positive change. You can get involved locally by signing up to one of our upcoming events. Ride Beach, Saturday, September 21st, Nodes Point, St. Helens, Thursday, September 26th, Small Hope Beach, Shanklin, Thursday, September 26th. A spokesperson for the Beach Clean said, "By joining the group on the beach, you're helping work towards a cleaner, better, protected, healthier ocean. Sign up today, bring your friends and family, and help turn the tide on plastic pollution." Find out more about this year's Great Beach Clean at liberty.turrell@mcsuk.org to register your interest and discuss your involvement.
Islanders offered free blood pressure monitor home loan scheme. From Isle of Wight Radio, read by Joyce. The Isle of Wight Council is offering residents the chance to borrow a blood pressure monitor from one of 6 local libraries across the island, free of charge. The free-to-loan monitors are available to island residents over the age of 18 years old who hold a valid library membership. If you are not a member of your local library, it takes just a few minutes on arrival. Just bring along a photo ID. The monitors are available from the following libraries during their usual opening hours: Lord Louis Library, Newport; Cowes Library; Ventnor Library; Sandown Library; Ryde Library; Freshwater Library. Each library will initially have 6 monitors, which will be available on a first-come, first-served basis. Councillor Debbie Andre, Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care and Public Health, said, "High blood pressure is often symptomless and can affect anyone. Using a blood pressure monitor is really straightforward, and being able to borrow one for up to 14 days from your local library is allowing more islanders to have access to help manage their own health and well-being. Every adult should know their blood pressure in the same way they know their height and weight, and be able to regularly have access to a monitor. I fully support this scheme." Simon Bryant, Director of Public Health for the Isle of Wight, added, "We are really pleased to be able to offer this service to island residents. It is important to know your numbers, as high blood pressure can lead to heart attacks, strokes, kidney disease and dementia. When borrowing a blood pressure monitor, you will also receive a leaflet explaining what high blood pressure is, as well as a sheet to record your readings twice a day for a week. If you need further assistance understanding your readings, your local pharmacy should be able to offer guidance. If you are concerned about your blood pressure, please contact a health professional."
This is Michael reading from Isle of Wight Radio. Latest scam warnings issued for the Isle of Wight. Trading Standards has issued a selection of scam warnings for the Isle of Wight. The following warnings have been issued: money requests from friends and colleagues, reports of friends or colleague emails being hacked and requests for money. Any mention of finances in an online request should be treated with suspicion, regardless of the sender. Always check with the person who has contacted you to ensure it is a genuine request for advice. The chances are very high that it will be a scam and their accounts have been hacked. Postal delivery texts. These texts say there was a problem with your order. Do not click on links in these or any other messages. These are phishing scams designed to harvest your information. Spoofed local numbers. Reminder that not all 01983 numbers are to be trusted. Latest purports to be from Visa saying £300 has been taken from Amazon and telling you to press 1 to sort a refund. This is a scam. Age UK. Callers purporting to be from Age UK asking for donations. When the number was checked online at Who Called Me, there were lots of negative reports. Do not respond to requests for money over the phone. DVLA. Email claiming to be from DVLA. This will advise you that your details are incorrect and you need to click on a link to amend. Do not click on links in emails.
This is Patrina reading from Isle of Wight Radio. New Museum of Island Music History opens in Newport. A new museum devoted to the musical history of the Isle of Wight has opened in Newport. The first floor exhibition opened to guests at a gala evening on Friday at Triple Records in St. James Street. Pretty Things guitarist Dick Taylor, early 60s singing star Pat Reeder, and other Isle of Wight musicians were first to walk around exhibits collected from the 3 original island festivals in 1968, 1969 and 1970. Rare images, contemporary music press articles, and even an original paper sleeping bag from the 1970 festival are on show. The display will be regularly updated and added to, with different themes and exhibitions as the museum develops. Those who attended the opening evening on Friday evening were shown an extended version of the recent BBC One show film about archaeology at the Afton site, and heard memories from Peter Harrigan, the press officer of the 1969 and 1970 festivals. Peter also told of how his involvement with these events led him to working with Johnny Mitchell and Frank Zappa. Andy Baring of the Triple Records said, "The museum will be working with and supported by the Isle of Wight Music Heritage Group, which came into being on stage 15th anniversary events for the 1968 and 1969 festivals. Together, we aim to both curate and preserve the history of the music on the island, along with supporting and encouraging new performers, composers and venues." On Friday, people were asked if they had memories or items of interest. As a result, the museum has already been promised a collection of items found in various digs at the Afton site, and will be interviewing a lady who shared memories of working as a nurse in the medical tent at the 1970 festival. The museum would love to hear from anyone who has items they would like to see displayed, or who would like to record their memories to be part of the museum archive. The museum and record shop are open Mondays to Saturdays, 9:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m.
This is Howard reading from the Isle of Wight radio concerning people's chance to be rookie lifeguards. Ryde Beach Lifeguards, that operates the beach lifeguard service in both Ryde and Sandown, welcomed the rookie lifeguards back this summer, with 80 children taking part in the programme. The programme is spread over 6 days in August, teaching children aged 8 to 15 years old valuable life-saving skills, following the Royal Life Saving Society curriculum. The rookies learnt about tides, current, waves and much more, as well as first aid training and life-saving skills in the swimming pool and sea. All the rookie lifeguards obtained Rookie Life-Saving Awards alongside specialism for the beach, with 2 of the rookies, Noah Gerling and Eleanor Rice, obtaining their Bronze Star Awards, and they will be working towards their bronze medallions in the winter months. Todd Miller, beach manager, said, "The Rookie Lifeguard Programme is something we all thoroughly enjoy delivering and is the future of life-saving on the island. 2 of our rookie lifeguards that have taken part in a programme for a number of years will be going on to complete their RLSS beach and pool lifeguard courses in 2025. Most importantly, the skills our rookies learnt with us could help save someone's life one day." The programme was sponsored by Electrical Solutions.
Complex dentistry cases leading to delays, but positive rise in number of people seen. From the Island Echo, read by Joyce. A top health boss has said more complex dentistry cases have led to delays in reviewing patients who suffer from long-standing dental needs. James Roach, Director of Primary Care at the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Integrated Care Board, which plans NHS services, told the Hampshire County Council Health and Care Committee that the service deals with patients with long-standing dental care needs. He said, "It's a lot more complex, and the average time of reviewing patients has increased due to that complexity being addressed. However, despite the increased average time, the service has seen a positive rise in the number of residents and children attending NHS dentists in the region, with 4,400 residents accessing a dentist in the last 12 months. James added, "Over the last 12 months, 4,400 residents have seen a dentist in the Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. The majority of those have been children under 18, which is positive in terms of extending our services to children and ensuring we have the right focus on their immediate dental needs. It is positive to see an increase. However, more access doesn't mean the practice is clinically manageable for NHS services across our country, and the ICB and we are addressing them. We are working within the National Plan framework to improve dental access that has been more investment. One of the things we are looking at is a dental academy at the University of Portsmouth in terms of training and retaining our dentistry workforce." He said that open and pragmatic conversations between private dental practices and the ICB are allowing them to extend services for residents. He added, "We've got a better relationship with dental providers at the moment. What I have seen across the ICB is a more open and pragmatic conversation with some of our private providers in terms of why they need to provide more NHS services, what support they would need to extend that, and how we move forward." Speaking about the mobile dental service, Mr. Roach said that this year around 700 patients with long-standing dentistry needs were served by the mobile services, which offered 200 treatments for those patients. The dental van provided multiple services such as x-rays, fillings, extractions and dentures, and will be extended to Basingstoke in the following months. The general feedback has been good. However, taking into consideration the good feedback and the benefits for residents, Councillor Alex Dowden asked, "Why are there not more mobile units in the region, and even more in areas of deprivation where NHS dentists are not accessible, which in some cases prevent people from seeing a dentist for more than 10 years?" James Roach said, "We are committed to moving forward in our investment plan. We have a strategy and financial commitment to increase the number of mobile units across Hampshire and the Isle of Wight."
This is Michael reading from Island Echo. Free Food in Sandown launches new recipe cards to promote affordable eating. Free Food in Sandown, a community charity dedicated to providing food for individuals and families in poverty and crisis, has announced the launch of its new recipe cards. These recipe cards are designed to offer tasty and simple meal ideas that require minimal preparation and use affordable ingredients, primarily tinned goods and cheaper fresh produce. The new recipe cards reflect Free Food in Sandown's commitment to helping people make nutritious meals with ease and affordability. Each card includes step-by-step instructions for creating delicious dishes made with ingredients commonly found in food banks or at low cost in supermarkets. By focusing on straightforward, fuss-free recipes, the charity aims to empower people with limited resources to cook wholesome meals without the stress of complex cooking techniques or expensive ingredients. Dot Perrott, founder of Free Food in Sandown, shared her excitement about the launch. Since our inception in 2019, our mission has been to provide hope and sustenance to those in need. These recipe cards are a natural extension of our work, helping people make the most of the ingredients they have while enjoying nutritious, satisfying meals. We're thrilled to see the impact these cards will have on our community. Founded in 2019 by Dot Perrott, Free Food in Sandown began its journey at Sandown Railway Station and has since established a more permanent base on Lake High Street. The charity is a beacon of hope for many on the Isle of Wight, offering vital food assistance to those facing hardship. Operating solely on the power of donations, grants and community support, Free Food in Sandown symbolises unity and compassion for those experiencing food poverty. The launch of the recipe cards is sponsored by the Island Business Network, IBN, whose generous support has enabled this initiative to come to life. A spokesperson for IBN said, "We are honoured to sponsor this initiative. Supporting free food in Sandown aligns perfectly with our values of community support and fostering well-being." The cards will be available at the charity's base on Lake High Street and distributed through local food banks and community centres. For more information about the recipe cards or to learn how you can support Free Food in Sandown, please visit the Facebook page Free Food in the Bay or contact Amber Beard, volunteer for the charity, AMBERIOW @hotmail.co.uk. Amber says, "If you are on the island and would like some recipe cards, then let me know. I'd like to see them in family hubs, food banks, staff rooms, schools, and anywhere where people are struggling with the cost of living."
This is Padrina reading from the Island Echo. Inspectorate find police inadequate at tackling serious and organised crime. A report compiled by His Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary and Fire and Rescue Services, HMICFRS, has said Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary is inadequate at tackling serious and organised crime, SOC. During the inspection, it was noted that the force needs to make sure it has enough personnel to process intelligent reports, as well as making sure that staff know that tackling SOC crime is a priority. Although the report noted there wasn't enough intelligence resource to meet demand. Inspectorate also found that the force were seldom updating their local profiles, and that some of the existing profiles were of very little benefit to the officers using them. The report criticised the fact that several offenders who had been issued with serious crime prevention orders were not being actively managed within specialist teams. Several recommendations within the report have been given strict timeframes at which changes need to be made. Other forces named within the report include Surrey Police, Sussex Police and Thames Valley Police.
This is Howard reading from the Island Echo regarding the RT Cafe Grill, which is a new restaurant and bar located at Royal Maritime House at St Thomas Street in Ryde. It's won Best New Restaurant in the UK at the British Restaurant Awards. Owner Robert Thompson has said, "We're thrilled to share some incredible news with you. RT Cafe Grill has just been awarded Best New Restaurant in the UK at the prestigious British Restaurant Awards. This achievement wouldn't have been possible without the support and votes from our amazing guests like you. Your belief in us drives everything we do, and we're so grateful to have such a wonderful community. A huge thank you to everyone who voted for us. Your support means the world." I also want to extend my deepest gratitude to our incredible team at RT Cafe Grill. Your dedication, hard work, and passion have made this dream a reality. This award is a true statement to your commitment and excellence and the outstanding experience we strive to offer every guest.
Good morning. The news today is read by Gerard
and by Madeline.
A special day of free events for history buffs. Newport will celebrate its history as it holds Newport Heritage Day tomorrow, Saturday. The day, which is part of the National Heritage Open Days scheme, will celebrate the heritage of the island's county town. Shops in the town are getting involved by creating special window displays reflecting the history of each space. Meanwhile, the Masonic Club and St. John's Church will be open for guided tours, and 64 High Street will be open, exhibiting the history of the first Newport Scouts. The Museum of Island History will be open for free, and the Classic Motor Show will return to Newport Quay. In the run-up to the event, a new scheme has launched to encourage shoppers back onto the High Street. Newport Minster will host creative activities with artist Trudy Wilson and the Alawat Council Archaeology team, and Finds Liaison Officer will be bringing some items from Newport's history. Unity Hall, Alawite Family History Society, and CWGC will also be there to help visitors discover their own historic connections.
Council plan to shut down 6 schools. Parents and head teachers shocked and saddened. The news that 6 island primary schools are under threat of closure has been met by devastation, shock and sadness by teachers and families. As the Isle of Wight Council grapples with surplus places, it unveiled proposals to drastically change the shape of primary education on the island. Cowes, Arreton, Oakfield, Brading, Wroxall and Godsill primary schools are all at risk of closure under new plans.
2 months closure for main road. Part of a main road through Sundown has closed for 2 months for roadworks. Avenue Road is shut in both directions, from its junction with Tamar Close to its junction with Perron Way. The closure is necessary to allow Network Rail to carry out essential engineering work along the island line. These repairs will see the old span of the bridge over Avenue Road removed and renewed, as well as the altering of the electric rail which powers the trains around Sundown Station. Network Rail says it will help deliver a more efficient railway on the island in the future. Power tools will be used to erect scaffolding around the bridge, and hand tools will be used to remove old paint. The route under the bridge will remain open to pedestrians for most of the duration. However, the works will involve a full junction closure of Perron Way, Morton Common and Avenue Road between Friday the 27th of September and Monday the 30th of September. This period of works will see the installation of a crane to remove the old bridge. Working from Shanklin to Ryde, the project will cost £20 million.
What do you know about World War II nurses? Local author Jo Cooper spent a successful weekend at Wolverton Manor Garden Fair, selling her series of Sky novels. Many brought a top-up as they had read the first one or two and wanted the second or third. She was asked constantly, "When is the next one being published?" I am in the research stage at the moment, as although the series is fiction, I do like to get the facts right and be as accurate as possible, Jo explained. My mother, Betty Lee Vigar, was a Red Cross nurse during World War II. She told a few stories. However, I can find nothing more. I contacted the Red Cross in July, who replied that they were experiencing a vast demand of inquiries at the moment and couldn't reply at this time. I've been scouring the web but can find nothing. I'm hoping that amongst the Isle of Wight Observer's readers there may be someone who has some information about nurses and their duties on the Isle of Wight in World War II. It's very many years since those frightening times. 85 years since the war began, nearly 90 since it finished. But maybe someone has memories of stories told to them by relatives or friends of those times, or perhaps a reference training manual. Photos tell a lot, as do records. Please can you help me to find more about my mother's work during the war? Can you help Jo and the many readers who are waiting eagerly for her next book? You can call her on 567874.
Closed road will sever off communities. 3 Isle of Wight councillors have spoken out to raise concerns about the imminent closure of main thoroughfare Lisson Road in Ventnor. The road first closed on the 10th of December following a major landslide in Bonchurch, but opened again in July. However, the road is set to shut again on Sunday for borehole work, and may remain closed until Christmas. Councillors Ed Blake, Chris Kirk and Michael Beston have expressed serious concerns that the closure will again sever off parts of Ventnor and Shanklin from the rest of the island. The councillors have questioned the needs for sinking the 3 boreholes into the road to install more monitoring devices, saying they could be positioned in private land, allowing the road to remain open. They say experts have put forward adjustments to the scheme that would keep the road safely open. Councillor Blake, ward member Ventnor, and St. Lawrence said the road closure leaves Ventnor with a huge cloud over it. If the Graben goes down, we are left with just the Whitwell Road for access. This is a real possibility. Wroxall too is desperate for roadworks as its network is crumbling. Shanklin too will suffer particularly with the Sandown railway bridge closure disruption. Both Ventnor and Shanklin will basically turn into cul-de-sacs once more until Christmas. Councillor Quirk, whose district covers the south of Shanklin, said Shanklin businesses were seriously impacted by the downturn in trade when the road first closed. Councillor Beston, who represents Shanklin Central, said limited road access deters visitors from booking accommodation, and coupled with other road closures is a perfect storm. However, Council leader Phil Jordan said the Isle of Wight Council hosted a very productive meeting this week with professionals and experts from the community, the council, Island Roads, the Environment Agency, and civil engineering consultants and geologists. One borehole will descend to a further 20 meter to around 130 meter to try to capture further geological layers which may indicate deep ground water movement. Councillor Jordan said, "Whilst I also share deeply the concerns for Ventnor, I am encouraged by the agreement of the professionals and the community experts who understand and support the borehole approach to ensure the future of the road is secured." He said, while disruption is inevitable, but the medium to long-term gain would be especially improved.
GP issues top health concern. A majority of recent feedback for the Isle of Wight's health and social care services is negative, according to an island watchdog. Health Watch Isle of Wight's findings show residents are reporting long waits for autism and ADHD assessments, positive feedback for GP staff but negative feedback for accessing GP services, and widespread concern over the cost and availability of dental appointments. The most common areas of feedback were GP services and those relating to autism and ADHD between July the 13th and August the 12th. Over 30% of reaction was recorded as negative responses to GP services, compared to just below 20% negative feedback for autism and ADHD services. Dentistry and pharmacy services also received large numbers of negative responses. General figures show 52% of feedback was negative, 4% was mixed or neutral, and 44% was positive. Palliative care services had the most positive responses. Meanwhile, 10% of findings were positive about adult social care. One anonymous user of Isle of Wight Health and Social Care Services said in reference to a child autism assessment, "We have been on the waiting list for 2.5 years. Another commented, "My relative has had to wait for over a month just to have a phone consultation with his GP. A third said he had not had a dental appointment for 5 years, as his dentist is only offering urgent and emergency appointments." Joanna Smith, manager at Health Watch Isle of Wight, said, "Some people have visited their GP practice to book an appointment and have been told this can't be done in person. The person will have to contact the surgery by telephone. Other people have contacted their GP practice due to a respiratory infection, but have only been offered a telephone appointment. People are routinely reporting waits over 2 years for autism and ADHD assessments. Once they receive a diagnosis, people with ADHD are also reporting problems in accessing ADHD medication. We are aware that this is a national problem. She also said positive feedback for GP staff related to the positive and helpful attitude of GP reception staff and the speed of Cowes Medical Centre's prescription provision. The Southern Healthcare NHS Foundation Trust has been contacted for a comment.
Angry freshwater residents raise planning concerns. Freshwater residents were given a chance to have their say on proposals for 3 developments in the West White at a public meeting at the Memorial Hall on Tuesday. The proposed freshwater developments are at Heathfield Farm Camp, which includes 57 residential dwellings, 12 residential flats, and retail space, building plans for land to the east of Birch Close and north of Solent Gardens, and a residential development of 127 dwellings and access roads at Camp Road. Among those voicing their concerns was Hannah Bartlett, who was worried about the ecological assessment conducted on both the Heathfield Road and Camp Road sites. She highlighted the absence of critical reports, including bats, reptile, and dormice surveys, which she believes are essential before any further action is taken. Various residents pointed out noise and light pollution, a lack of NHS dentists with a proposed closure of My Dentist in Freshwater, Brookside Medical Centre being overwhelmed, geology surveys and road safety. Isle of Wight Councillor Peter Spink, who represents Freshwater North and Yarmouth, was in the audience and said he would be applying for the matter to be determined by the Isle of Wight Council Planning Committee, rather than a planning officer. Public consultation has ended, and the statutory decision date is Monday, the 28th of October.
Road closing for 10 days. An island road will be closed for 10 days for highway reconstruction work. Argyle Street in Ryde is set to close from September the 9th to allow Island Roads to carry out repairs. The street will be shut to through traffic between Argyle Place and West Street, with the closures being in place for 24 hours for security reasons. The roadworks themselves will take place between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. each day, with local diversions signposted along Pelhurst Road, Ratcliffe Avenue and West Street. Heavy goods vehicles going eastbound through Ryde will divert along Queen's Road, then via Union Street, Esplanade and East Hill Road, while those going west through Ryde will be diverted via West Street and Queen's Road. Pedestrian access and access for emergency vehicles will be maintained throughout the works, while on-street parking will be suspended. An Island Road spokesperson said, "We recognise that these improvement works may cause some inconvenience for residents and businesses, but we hope any disruption will be offset by the long-term improvements we are making. We would like to thank you in advance for your assistance in enabling us to complete these works."
Annie does Ireland proud with silver in Paris Games. It's a silver medal for Ireland rower Annie Caddick at the Paralympics 2024. Great Britain's Samuel Murray and Annabel Caddick, known as Annie, won silver on Sunday in the PR3 mixed double sculls, a final at the Vars-sur-Marne Stadium on day 4 of the Paris 2024 Summer Paralympics Games. Annie grew up on the island, which is where she developed a passion for water sports. She spent her free time surfing with her family and her summers lifeguarding the island's beaches. Annie started rowing while studying at the University of Birmingham. Rowing appealed to Annie as it was the first time she had participated in a sport where, as someone with cerebral palsy, she felt she could keep up with her able-bodied teammates and was treated as an equal, rather than someone with a disability. While rowing with her university teams, Annie's coach suggested she applied for British Rowing's para development program. Annie's career highlights include medaling at the 2023 European Championships and achieving Paralympic qualification at the 2023 World Rowing Championships in the PR3 mixed double sculls. Reacting to her silver medal achievement in an interview with Paralympics GB, she said, "I think it will start to sink in, but it has not sunk in yet. I don't think I allowed myself to think about the finish of the race. I was just going to race, and then what will be, will be. When Sam started shouting, I was like, oh no, this is done, this is cool." On the achievement, Annie said, they did not dare to think past that point. This was all I could see. It was like tunnel vision for months now. And so we'll go home and think about what to do next, about the support they've received at the games. It's so nice to be in Paris. It's only an hour or so on the train, so our families can come and see us. And it's made such a difference. The stands are so big that you could hear them from halfway through the race.
Red Funnel's troubled sale and unanswered questions. After months of denials, the truth about Red Funnel's potential sale has come to light, thanks to one of its would-be buyers. Back in March, the Isle of Wight Observer reported that the departure of 8 directors hinted at an imminent sale. Despite this, a Red Funnel spokeswoman brushed it off as a periodic review of board structures. Last week, we disclosed that Arcus Infrastructure Partners, or AIP, were eyeing up the company. This week it emerged that they had emailed some of our elected representatives to find out whether they would be constructive partners if they bought the company. The harsh reality is that Red Funnel's financial situation is dire. Edward Lilly, AIP's Senior Investment Director, confirms that, following the director's departure in March, the company and its lenders initiated an urgent sale and capital raising process. He emphasised that funding is needed immediately, along with millions for near-term investment for infrastructure and new vessels, since the entire fleet of ro-ro ferries is reaching the end of its useful life. No one can argue with the need to replace unreliable boats. Yet Mr. Lilly, for some reason, omits to mention that the immediate need includes £40.7 million for a bank loan due for repayment in July. Mr. Lilly blames extremely challenging trading conditions citing COVID, lockdowns and high inflation, which he implies are responsible for significant operating losses in recent years. However, Whitelink, facing similar challenges, reported an increase in operating profit in its accounts to March 2023. The core issue is Red Funnel's financial structure. The company is drowning in £294 million of intercompany and external debt, with little investment to show for it. Mismanagement has worsened the situation, with staff morale at rock bottom, as they are left by directors to deal with angry customers facing cancelled and unreliable services. Given Red Funnel's history of evading questions, Arcus seems like a perfect fit. The Isle of Wight Observer reached out to Mr. Lilly on Tuesday to ask how AIP plans to fund and run the business. He hasn't yet even acknowledged our email. Could it be because they intend to follow the same flawed model of high intercompany debts, rising prices, and reduced services, which has so damaged the island? Surely not. We can only hope that our elected representatives will tell Mr. Lilly and his ilk very clearly that, unless there are clear answers to such questions, he can certainly not rely on them being constructive partners for yet more of the same. At least one already has, and both our MPs have, made clear that they favour new legislation to protect the island and islanders. The island's future depends upon our ferry services. Island residents, businesses and visitors deserve answers. Any new owners need to move away from the model of crippling debt, created not by investment in the business, but to line the pockets of shareholders. And now we've got some Wight memories. Days gone by. The county press has been bringing islanders the news since 1884. We've delved into our archives. 125 years ago, in September 1899, a fire on Ventnor, Luckham and Wroxham Downs deserved to be classed among the most notable of a fiery summer. The origin of the fire was unknown, but it took Captain and Mrs. Douglas and 50 men to put the flames out. Following a deliberate fire on Heddon Warren, the Allen Bay district was favoured with some welcome heavy rain. Although too late for crops, the county press reported that the rain will no doubt do some good to the root crops and will make things fresher. 70 years ago, in September 1949, considerable interest was aroused at Somerton Airport by the arrival of a miniature German plane, believed to be the only one of its kind. The Zoen-Comecking single-seater, built in 1940 to train pilots, had a cruising speed of 58 miles an hour, and it was impossible to spin. An islander then living in California had a pleasing reminder of home. While on holiday in Virginia, USA, she came across another Isle of Wight. Although not an island, the county borders on the James River, and Mrs. F. Coots, whose late parents, Mr. and Mrs. Perkis, lived in Arthur Street, Ryde, said it was a very pretty little place.
100 years ago, in September 1924, Princess Beatrice displayed her interest in the praiseworthy efforts of inmates of the island workhouse by opening a sale of clothing and handicrafts made by them. The Brahazon Employment Society provided interesting and useful occupations to those more or less confined to the Union or infirmary wards, and the princess declared her pleasure in opening the sale. Shanklin District Council considered the provision of a winter garden as a step in the right direction towards the island becoming a winter resort for visitors. An island paradise was the theme of an article in a London contemporary. A correspondent wrote of the love of the island of celebrity John Wilkes, who regarded his cottage in Sandown as the quaintest ever built, and the view from the pier as the most beautiful seen on the island. 50 years ago, in September 1974, shopkeepers who demand that customers spend at least £1 before being allowed to purchase sugar during the current shortages are within their rights, according to the Alawite County Trading Standards Department. However, one official commented that although legal, the system is somewhat unfair. At the Farnborough International Airshow, plane makers Britten Norman broke all British sales records with an order of 100 Britten Norman Islanders for the Philip Aerospace Development Corporation. It is believed to be the biggest single order for British civil aircraft ever made.
Literary Giants Who Graced Our Shores by David White. The Isle of Wight can proudly boast of its many successful present-day authors and interest in literature within the 2024 Isle of Wight Literary Festival imminent. However, in this feature I am taking a look at just some of the literary giants of the past who had connections with the island. Perhaps one of the most popular and well-known was J.B. Priestley, who lived in Billingham Manor near Chillerton. Priestley was a prolific author with works such as The Good Companions and Inspector Calls and Lost Empires, being but a few of his many published books and plays. During the Second World War he took to the radio with a programme called Postscripts, which proved very popular, being only second in popularity to Churchill's broadcasts. Priestley had been married 3 times, his third wife being Jacquetta Hawkes, a well-known archaeologist of the period. Later in his career he moved to the iconic Brook Hill house at Brook, which has now been turned into luxury flats. Being one of the founding members of CND, that's the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament, he could sometimes be found with another well-known island resident, the much broadcast historian A.J.P. Taylor, a leading figure in the campaign. They would often meet at the Albion Hotel in Freshwater, Priestley drinking his favourite drink, a dog's nose, that's hot stout, gin sugar and nutmeg, while discussing their next plans regarding their CND involvement. Priestley eventually left the island, going to live in Warwickshire, the reason being the many problems he encountered with the ferry travel. Nothing new there, I hear you say.
Yet another interesting author who lived in Bonchurch was Henry de Vere, Stackpool. He lived on Bonchurch Shoot, and perhaps his most famous work was the novel Blue Lagoon, which was eventually made into a popular feature film. It was said that you could often see him driving through the village in his vintage Rolls-Royce. The famous village pond was originally a gift to the village from Stackpool in memory of the death of his wife. He is buried at St. Boniface Church. Christopher Isherwood lodged at Freshwater Bay, and perhaps his most famous work was The Berlin Stories, which eventually inspired the film Cabaret. It was said that if you passed by their lodgings on a Sunday, you would hear Isherwood and the writer W. H. Auden singing hymns to the banging accompaniment of a very loud piano. Also worth mentioning is Russian novelist Ivan Turgenev, writer of such novels as Smoke, Fathers and Sons, and countless other works. Living in various lodgings in Ventnor, he was always at odds with his landladies, owing to his continual smoking. Also in Ventnor was Karl Marx, who apparently spent his time in the town to improve his health. It is said Queen Victoria was not amused. I have in past features mentioned some of the women authors, so I have not elaborated on them in this feature. But worth a mention are Maxwell Gray, who wrote under the name, her actual name being Mary Gleed Tutlet, and one of her most outstanding books being The Silence of Dean Maitland. Also worth a mention is John Oliver Hobbes, whose real name was Pearl Mary Teresa Richards, one of her most successful books being Some Emotions and a Moral, a sensation in its day. Why did all these women write under men's names, you may well ask? Perhaps it was that no publisher would accept a book written by a female author, or perhaps because the public would not read a book written by a woman. Either way, it was indicative of the period.
And now an opinion from Catherine James. Planning parallels with Mad Hatter. Wags just that time has stood still on the Isle of Wight. For Lewis Carroll's Mad Hatter, time literally stops at 6 o'clock, making it perpetually tea time in Wonderland. As a protagonist, Alice joins the Hatter, March Hare and Dormouse at this interminable tea party. She notices that in order to get a clean place setting, the guests periodically shunt around the table, leaving dirty plates and other detritus behind for the next occupant. I thought about this shambolic tea party as I recently drove through the boondocks of the West Midlands. Pockets of light industrial zoning have become urban degradation, with closed and boarded remnants of, presumably, previous vibrant employment. This isn't only a mainland issue. You could identify dilapidated and neglected wasteland in island towns too, and sadly some of the countryside. Concreted spaces and empty windowless structures, presumably once shiny and new, falling in disrepair and becoming, frankly, a miserable eyesore. I want a clean cup, interrupted the Hatter. Let's all move one place on. As they all shifted to the next chair, the Hatter was the only one who got any advantage from the change. Alice was a good deal worse off than before, as the March Hare had just upset the milk jug into his plate. It struck me while navigating around Dudley that the Mad Hatter's messy table is a metaphor for what us humans are doing with the earth. And like the Hatter, instead of dealing with leaving metaphorical spilt milk jugs for the next person to handle.
There are piles of unworn clothes, while global garment factories churn out more. Finite resources are squandered in disposable electronics and single-use plastics. Even water itself is polluted, like there is more pure stuff on its way, which technically there is, as the icebergs continue to melt, but you know what I mean. The expansion of humans into even the most tenacious patch of wildlife demonstrates a degree of madness that would riddle our hatter, especially when there is so much degraded land where almost anything would be better than stagnant ruination. Our wreckage piles up. There is a chink of hope, though. The new government's planning and infrastructure bill promises to turbocharge building of houses and infrastructure. And at first glance, it seems this does not mean more of the rural greenbelt being lost to housing or industry, or at least not without an administrative struggle. Added to greenbelt and brownfield land, designation is a new grey belt, once subjectively described as poor quality and ugly areas. Without the greenbelt, the redevelopment of brown, grey and greenbelt land being facilitated in that order suggests that at least when building, we might finally be clearing the table before starting the next sitting. Though with technocrat Elon Musk setting his sights on colonizing Mars, maybe we should add red belt to our list of protected landscape.
Now for some information from our MP Richard Quigley. I wrote my first column as MP at the height of summer, when the island was aflurry with tourists and locals alike, enjoying everything the island has to offer. Now the school holidays and recess are over. It's Westminster that's a hive of activity. Parliament's a funny place. You can't help but be in awe of it. It's the history, the majesty, the scale. The fact is like a real Hogwarts. MPs and their staff, many working in Westminster for the first time, can be seen striding around with purpose, but are clearly as lost as the rest of us newbies. But it's a workplace all the same. And as MPs, we're all here because we've been elected to get on with a job. Mine is to champion the island in any and every way I can, raising local issues on a national platform. That task's been made a little easier this week, as I finally got the keys to my parliamentary office, only 2 months on from being elected. Although on unlocking the door for the first time on Wednesday, the previous occupants' belongings were still in crates waiting to be removed. The desk drawers were still full and there was no IT equipment in place. But at least I've gone from just operating with a laptop from my rucksack. Now you may think this column is written in jest, but I assure you it isn't. I led a campaign which promised to be open and to keep constituents informed. The realities and quirks of the British political system have taken even me by surprise. Why MPs would want to keep hold of their London offices 2 months after losing their seat is beyond me. It doesn't have a knock-on effect. But it does have a knock-on effect. So I want constituents to be assured I'm working my way through correspondence, but I'm prioritising urgent casework and local issues. For example, I've already made my position and opposition to the proposed CO2 pipeline clear. And now Parliament's back in session, I'll use my position here to champion Isle of Wight West on a national platform.
And now, what's on? All aboard Spanish galleon. A Spanish galleon ship has docked in Cowes and is open to the public. The galleon Andalusia will be berthed at Trinity Landing until the 8th of September, a faithful historical replica of the ships which sailed the world in the 16th, 17th and 18th centuries.
The Isle of Wight Dog Festival is on the 14th to the 15th of September at 9 a.m. and it's from £3 to £40. It's the island's premier dog show and it's at the Royal Isle of Wight Agricultural Society County Showground, Newport Road in Cowes.
Shanklin Theatre in September, every Thursday until the 10th of October at 8:15 p.m. beyond the West End. Friday the 6th of September, 7:30 p.m. Take That Experience of Take That. Saturday the 7th of September, 7:30 p.m. Hello Again. On Sunday the 8th of September at 7:30 p.m. The Rolling Stones Story. On Wednesday the 11th September at 7:30 p.m. Rick Wakeman. On Friday the 13th of September at 7:30 p.m. New Amen Corner.
And the paddle steamer, the Waverley, has cruises from Yarmouth Pier going round the island on Tuesday the September the 10th, leaving at 12 noon and back at 4:30 p.m. On Saturday September the 14th, leaving at 1:20 p.m, back at 5:50 p.m. On Tuesday September the 17th, leaving at 12:40 p.m. and back at 5:10 p.m. And on Tuesday, September the 24th, leaving at 11:45 a.m. and back at 5:10 p.m.
Book early for Jazz Weekend. An event from the Isle of Wight Jazz Weekend has been upgraded to a larger venue. The weekend, which will run from the 18th of September to the 22nd of September, will see a range of jazz finest acts perform in Newport. Sunday headliner, the Claire Martin and Jim Merlin Trio, has been upgraded to Newport Minster to cater for demand. Singer Claire became a professional at 19 and was soon performing in Ronnie Scott's jazz club in London. She last performed on the island to a packed Apollo Theatre. Jim came to prominence through the jazz-funk outfit Morrissey Mullen and has gone on to play with many of the greats of British jazz, winning several accolades. All kinds of jazz music will be represented across the weekend, with sounds of sharing, catering for cool jazz fans. Muse Manouche for gypsy jazz, and the Matt Carter Octet for modern jazz. Event director Jim Thorne said, "I am very pleased with the reaction to the lineup this year. Tickets may be available on the door of events, but to guarantee seats, booking is advised. There will also be various free fringe events around Newport as part of the festivals. Tickets are available via alawajazzweekend.co.uk."
Theatre take on hit movie thriller. Best-selling thriller The Girl on the Train, which became a movie, is going to be performed at the Apollo Theatre as a play. The adaptation of Paula Hawkins' book is bound to be popular. The play follows Rachel, a young woman unsatisfied with her job and reeling after a breakup, who finds solace imagining the lives of a couple she sees each day from the window of her train commute. But when the woman she's been watching disappears, Rachel wonders if she could be the key to finding her. When the Apollo Theatre players took on the play, they advertised for actors to audition, something they haven't done before, to find new members. The decision led to 3 new members joining, 2 of whom had never performed for the Apollo before, and 1 who returned after a few years away. Director Helen Redding said, "It is always good to see new faces on stage, as well as some familiar, well-seasoned ones. I'm always hoping to see new actors, and I love teaching skills to those who are inexperienced, watching them grow and develop through the process. I was given that opportunity back in the 90s in my first production. Hilary Foister, the director, taught me so much and gave me a lifeline, so it is only fair to pass it on." So The Girl on the Train is on at the Apollo from tonight, that's Friday, till the 14th of September, not Sunday or Monday. And you can book by phoning 210-010.
And now we turn to letters. Walk to Castle concerns me. I was very interested to read the letter from Jen Riddle Brown regarding the dangerous pedestrian route to Carisbrooke Castle. I would like to thank Jen for taking the time to write to the country press. For the last few years, I have continued to contact Southern Vectis, the Isle of Wight Bus Users Group, and the Carisbrooke Councillor, as I have seen many passengers and pedestrians get off the number 7 bus at the bottom of Cedar Hill when they want to go to Carisbrooke Castle. It is alarming to see families with young children walking up Cedar Hill, which is narrow, no pavement, and with frequent heavy traffic. The audio on the number 7 buses directs passengers to get off the bus at Cedar Hill if they want Carisbrooke Castle. There is an extra message which suggests taking the adjoining parallel alleyway, but usually this comes after the passengers have got off the bus. There is a finger sign pointing to the castle up Cedar Hill. This sign was meant for vehicles. Pedestrians could be directed to get off the buses at Carisbrooke High Street and walk down Castle Street to the castle. The clue is in the name. A few of the bus drivers do recommend the stop at Carisbrooke High Street for the castle, as it is a safer walk. It is also very much prettier. I have even heard regulars on the bus telling passengers this too. Obviously, there is also Castle Road that leads to Carisbrooke Castle from Simeon Monument bus stop, but it is a much longer walk. I would hate to hear that anyone has had an accident on Cedar Hill, so hopefully someone will take notice now as an urgent matter of safety.
Need for more female drivers, from Tina Snow in Newport, who is one of our members. I am female and am registered blind. I'm a regular taxi user. I always plan in advance how I am getting to and from destinations, such as the gym at One Leisure. I always consider safety first, and if I am unable to use my regular taxi company, will cancel an appointment. In this day and age, why are taxi drivers predominantly male? There is a need for female taxi drivers so females can feel safe, especially those with disabilities.
Desperately short of housing stock by John Baldry of Ventnor. Your readers' letters, especially David White's, are a little harsh. More housing will not cause an urban ghetto. More housing will enable renters to pay less exorbitant rents. It will enable tens of thousands to enter the property market. We are desperately short of housing in the UK. I would put money on my guess that 100% of letters complaining about those proposals are from people living comfortably in a nice property. I imagine no complaints come from homeless people. We must all remember that every dwelling that exists was once a greenfield site. We must ensure that everyone is adequately housed.
Aim is to improve island education outcomes, and this is from Ashley Whittaker, the Isle of Wight Council Statutory Director of Children's Services. Dear children and families of the Isle of Wight and primary school colleagues, I am writing to you about the proposal to close 6 primary schools. If you are impacted by this, I and my colleagues absolutely appreciate how difficult this news will have been to hear and how challenging the coming weeks will be. We will do everything we can to support you during these times, and depending on what our elected representatives decide to do on September the 12th, to deliver change with as much compassion and kindness as possible. Since I joined the island community in February, it has been my privilege to listen to the views of many people, both children and adults, who care deeply about the Isle of Wight. Some share current or recent experiences of school. Others reflect on what worked and could have been better when they were younger. I believe that what unites everyone is an ambition to improve education outcomes to reflect the true potential of the island's children. This is why we are developing a new island education strategy. Alongside this ambition is a shared acknowledgement that the world is changing and that education provision must adapt to reflect this. For several years there has been a significant reduction in the number of babies being born on the island, and a subsequent decline in the number of children entering primary school. The prevalence of special education needs and disabilities has increased, as have needs relating to emotional well-being and mental health. These changes in the numbers and needs of our children require a corresponding adjustment to the island's school system. Complex and difficult decisions are therefore needed. They are also decisions that are essential to establish the foundations required to deliver a high-performing education system and to improve education outcomes and wider life chances for all children. By making these decisions, we will be able to deliver on our shared commitment to fully unlock the potential of the island's children and allow them to truly thrive.
Council should listen to residents regarding planning. A letter from Adrian Hudson from Seaview. Is the council listening to anyone apart from developers? A recent planning application for one small house in the Donkey Field, Seaview, had 109 objections from local residents. The Campaign for the Protection of Rural England objected, as did the parish council. Permission has just been granted for this house in a beautiful green corridor, and more houses will follow, no doubt. When the council asks for locals to comment, they should listen and act accordingly.
Vicar became a renowned bishop from John Matthews of Carisbrooke. Reference is given in days gone by, as in the county press of the 30th of August, to the Reverend E. Neville Lovett, Vicar of St Saviour's, Shanklin, in 1899. Ernest Neville Lovett, 1869 to 1951, was a young man when he arrived at Shanklin, and he remained there until 1908. After a number of important posts as vicar at Farnham and St Mary's, Southampton, he became vicar of St Thomas's, Portsmouth in 1925, as well as being Archdeacon of Portsmouth. He was appointed the first Bishop of Portsmouth in 1927, where he remained until 1936. He was then Bishop of Salisbury from 1936 to 1946. His name is remembered in the former Bishop Lovett School in Ryde. And that's all we've got time for today, so it's goodbye from Madeline.
And goodbye from Gerard.
The BBC In Touch programme follows, and the scaffolding news follows that.
BBC Sounds, music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, welcome to the Paralympics Gold Rush. Halfway through the event, we'll be reporting on and talking to some of the successful visually impaired trailblazers. First though, a trailblazer in his own right, David Clark, blind since birth, is Chief Executive of Paralympics GB. He's a 3 times Paralympian himself, first at goalball in the 1996 Atlanta Paralympic Games and twice playing for the blind football team in the 2008 Beijing Games and then as captain in the London Games in 2012. So who better to find out more about the Games and the part visually impaired people have played in them? David, Atlanta was my first Paralympics as well as a reporter 28 years ago. Could you have imagined then that you'd find yourself in 2024 as chief executive of the British Paralympic movement?
Yeah, I remember 96 well, and it was great to have you there, but absolutely not, no. I've played Paralympic sport since 1987 when I first stepped onto a goalball court in Milton Keynes, of all places, in our European Championships. And getting to Atlanta was an incredible thing, and I just remember it very clearly. But no, I couldn't have imagined being what is an incredibly privileged position to be part of this team.
And just recall for those who don't know the differences between the Games then and the Games that you're at now in Paris.
Well, I think it was a very different environment. I guess it was a transition where we'd gone from Seoul to Barcelona to Atlanta, where the Games tracked the same city as the Olympics. And, you know, what it definitely felt like a very separate event with a sort of lower level political and leadership space within both sport and politics. And I must say that Paris is absolutely surpassing itself. It feels like we're back in that wonderful summer of London 2012. The atmosphere, the way the public have bought into it. I've been to 6 sports so far, every single one of them packed out with fans. You know, we have wonderful engagement from everybody in our sports sector to government. It just feels a different world in many ways, Peter.
There are some issues which always come up at the Games, and one is classification. You know, it always crops up. The argument in a way is it makes it quite hard for people to follow what's going on. You know, why, for instance, there have to be something like 14 or 15 classes in the swimming, for example. Is there any way round that to make it more accessible to the crowds?
Well, I think a lot of work has been done on classification. In fact, the IPC, the International Paralympic Committee, has just launched its latest code for classification. And I think for elite sport at this level, for world-class sport, it's super important that we all know that we're competing on a level playing field. And of course, it's the classification system which enables that to happen. And there's been various tools such as Lexi and other different tools where you can go and find out about what the categories are. But I think the fundamental thing is we all know it's a level playing field, and also in a race the winner is the winner. Without classification, Peter, we don't have Paralympic sport.
One of the issues which cropped up as we were preparing for the Games was something that swimmers Eliza and Scarlett Humphrey mentioned. They're taking part in the Games, both of them, which was the relatively small number of totally blind athletes coming through to Paralympic level.
We're the first S11 swimmers to compete at Paralympic Games since 2004, so 20 years. When we started out, it was difficult because people didn't have the exposure to totally blind athletes, and also for clubs and coaches to be more confident, or not more confident, but to support B1 athletes as well as they come through.
It's an intriguing problem because when I was younger, I think there were quite a lot of totally blind people. That's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wonder, for instance, if it's got anything to do with perhaps mainstream schools not necessarily adapting as quickly, because quite a lot of the people who would have been in the past would have probably gone to special schools, and now it's much more common, for all sorts of good reasons, for people to go to mainstream schools. Do you think that could be a factor?
Yeah, potentially. I think that could be a big factor. I mean, the grassroots, I think, to get into sport are very important, even though mainstream obviously is good. We went to mainstream, but I think specialist has the ability that they have a lot of VI and also low vision students. They know how to adapt sports, and the grassroots to get people into sport would be there.
They were speculating why this was. What's your take on this?
There is an issue, and there is an issue across all disabled people, and that is very much access to inclusive sports facilities, access to inclusive sports pathways, and particularly a lack of access to school PE and school sport. Not someone with sight loss, but Hannah Cockcroft will very powerfully tell you the story about being left in a classroom full of clothes rather than doing PE with her counterparts. And she's gone on to be, what is it now? We're up to 18 World Championship medals for her and Olympic medals. And it is unacceptable. 3 out of 4 kids in school who are disabled are still not participating in sport on a regular basis in school. And we have launched our Equal Play project, which is sort of demanding of schools, society and government that this has to change. And we've also launching this week a white paper, which is making the case for this. But until we have teachers being given the correct resources, teachers being trained correctly in how to run inclusive sports lessons, and dare I say, more disabled teachers in schools making this happen, then those random conversations that happen with Hannah and happen with many of our athletes that got them into sport will continue to be the random route that people come into it, and lots of people will continue to miss out. I think on the numbers, there are certain sports that we didn't qualify for, unfortunately, this time round as Paralympics GB. And that would have been 2 goalball teams with male and female, which, of course, is a good number of athletes. And plus the football team didn't qualify either. So our numbers would have been enhanced had those squads made it through.
But the point about the football teams and the goalball teams raises a potentially quite controversial point, is that often those teams, quite a lot of people came from special schools where they'd had the chance to play together. You can imagine groups of people almost coming up together. That isn't going to happen so much now, is it? And I'm wondering whether that's a factor in people getting opportunities, certainly to play those kind of team sports.
I think you're probably right. It's about the opportunity. I remember even being a specialist school for the blind myself, I spent a lot of time with my parents, who were huge advocates of me, driving me all over the country to play whatever team sports I was playing. And I do think you do have it correct. It is harder from a team perspective to do that, but certainly not impossible. The first thing that has to happen is have the opportunity to have all of the benefits that come with sport. And they're not just they're physical, they're social, they're about dexterity and balance and mobility and all those kind of things. But then ensuring that the opportunity is there. And we have a responsibility to do that. And that's not just in sport. That's ensuring in education, in employment, in health outcomes, social inclusion, financial independence, that disabled people can live their life to the full. And it seems to me that we've got very comfortable with the idea that Paralympic athletes and disabled people in general can be elite on the field of play. And I want the opportunity for every disabled person to be elite in life. And that means that all those other environments should have equity, and it should be possible to achieve what you want to achieve in them.
David Clark, thank you very much. One of the positives of covering the Paralympics as a journalist is that so many of the competitors have got extraordinary backstories, quite apart from their sporting prowess. A classic example of this is Lizzie Jordan, who we heard winning the 1,000 metres time trial in her class with her pilot Danny Khan on the front. Lizzie, first of all, congratulations on your gold medal.
Thank you so much. It was just kind of surreal, like a totally packed stadium, like lots of GB fans. My whole family were there, lots of my friends. One of the doctors actually saved my life, so it was just really special. It's just one of those crazy moments that I won't ever forget.
No, it was a pretty tight race, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was tight. So our kind of races were a little bit slower to start with, and then we build it up throughout the 4 laps and tend to finish strong. So it's always quite on the edge of your seat, like, will we make it? And yeah, we did.
I wanted to talk to you about that because I watched the heat as well as the race itself. And what fascinated me following it was how your tactics differed from the Australians, who you narrowly beat. They went out fast, you were a little bit behind, halfway round, but then speeded up. How did you judge the timing of that? I mean, do you, as a blind person, do you have a sense of the time, given that we're dealing in split seconds?
So no, with the 1 kilometre time trial, it's just flat out. So Danny and I are more endurance riders, so we will start a little bit slower and then gradually build the speed, but that's not intentional, that's just our way of racing, whereas the Australian riders are pure sprint riders, so they have more explosive power off the start line, but they do tend to tire towards the end, so we bring it back quite quickly towards the end with our endurance side of riding.
So really you just pedal like mad, that's basically what you're saying.
Absolutely, like all you've got for flat out for a minute until you're on your knees at the end.
Now, you mentioned a doctor saving your life, which will have intrigued people. But, I mean, the story of how you lost your sight is extraordinary. I'm sorry if you're fed up with telling it, but bear with us. Just explain what happened.
Yeah, I'm not at all worried about sharing it. Like, I like to tell people the background, really, because I want to hopefully encourage other people that the sky is the limit, really. So in 2017, I acquired my disability. I contracted a very rare form of E. coli poisoning, which resulted in a 2-month coma. And yeah, I was in hospital very, very poorly with multi-organ failure. The doctor said on several occasions I wouldn't pull through, and I fortunately did, but I did awake with absolutely no sight, and I had to kind of relearn to walk again, had to learn life again without my sight.
I think what's intriguing is how on earth did you set about recovering your fitness after all that? Because you must have been incredibly weak.
Yeah, so 8-week coma, I'd lost all my muscle mass, a lot of weight. I had to learn to even lift my own head up again, let alone walk and get back on my feet. And not having any vision on top of that was incredibly difficult. So it was a very, very long journey. And I actually started with a mission to run the London Marathon, which was absolutely crazy.
Yes, a little ambitious, but did you do that?
I did. So in the 2018 spring, I started doing my local park run. So I've really started from the bottom, just 5 kilometres. I would run, walk it. But I built myself up to kind of run, walking the London Marathon in the 2019 in April, which was crazy. I raised £15,000 for the Royal National Institution for the Blind. So that kind of kick-started my desire to achieve more and more.
How long did all this take? Let's just say from leaving hospital to getting back to feeling, well, not just feeling like a human being, but being able to do some fairly extraordinary things physically. How long did that take?
Well, it's hard to quantify it, really. It was a very long process. There was lots of ups and downs. You know, I'd get into my running and then I'd have some really bad runs where I really struggled and I'd think about giving up. A lot of people think you can just click your fingers and become a Paralympian, but it's been a hell of a journey in between. And even now, sometimes, you know, I'm very fit, but I'll struggle with daily tasks when we're away with the team. It can be challenging, new environments, new settings, learning where I am. There's a lot of difficulties along the way when you acquire a disability, but I think it's just adapting. I'm actually achieving more without my sight than I ever did with my sight. So although I'd take my sight back in a heartbeat, my life has taken a totally different direction.
We should mention Danny a bit more. I mean, how did you develop the partnership and how important is timing and all that kind of thing in what you do?
Yeah, so Danny and I first met in the November 2023, so we haven't really been partnered together for long. And we've done a lot of intense training on the bike, but it takes years to develop that relationship on and off the bike. But we've kind of really clicked. We've got a lot of respect for each other and we've got the same goals. So I very much hope we have a long and successful partnership together. There's a lot more than just the bike riding that you see. It's the dedication of your pilot off the bike, helping me at meal times, helping me in the accommodation. We're very reliant on my pilot.
Will you be going to Los Angeles?
Well, I'd love to be. Yeah, I'd absolutely love to. That's everyone's dream, isn't it? To go to as many games as they can and enjoy a long, successful career.
Well done, Lizzie Jordan. Thank you very much for joining us. And indeed, we've had a lot of success on the cycle track. That includes Sophie Unwin, who took the bronze in Lizzie's race, but earned a gold of her own in the 3,000 metre individual pursuit, while Laura Facky won a bronze in that race. Laura's husband Neil, a veteran of the cycle track, was just pipped to the gold this time by James Ball, a long-time rival in the men's 1,000 metres time trial. On the first day of competition, Steve Bate won a silver in the men's 4,000 metre individual pursuit. There'll be more racing later in the week, but this time on the road. From pedal power to oar power, I've been talking to Sam Murray, who paired up with Annie Caddick from the Isle of Wight and won a silver at the weekend in the PR3 mixed double sculls. Well, Sam Murray, first of all, congratulations on your silver. It was a pretty close run thing, wasn't it? You almost caught the Aussies.
Yeah, thank you. It was a really, really close race. I mean, tenths of a second.
Yeah. Did you think you would catch the Aussies? I mean, you were gaining on them, weren't you?
I could hear they were alongside us around the halfway point. I think we almost drew level with them. So I knew that we were within a chance.
Is your sight an issue in terms of knowing, exactly where your opponents are?
Yeah, I would say that, being visually impaired does have a play into it. So you're reliant on some other senses. I have tunnel vision. That's how I classify. So my peripheral fields wouldn't pick anything up, obviously, unless I turn my head in a sweeping look. And you hope in that sweeping look that you've picked up all that you need to see and there isn't someone 5 metres out that you haven't seen.
Now, this is quite an unusual event, or at least it seems unusual to me, a mixed doubles in rowing, because it's about mixed disabilities. Tell me a bit more about it and how you were put together as a pair.
I guess it's unique in that, with a mixed boat, you really have to work out how you work together, like in any crew, but there is always some other dynamics. You layer that into a Paralympic boat class and you've got different disabilities as well that you're trying to figure out how you complement each other. How we got paired together, I was an athlete in the team up until 2017, so I did the Rio cycle with the team. I chose to leave and pursue my career in business psychology and finish my master's and work as a consultant. And then at the end of 2022, the team got back in touch to say that they were looking into sending this boat and would I be interested in coming back and see if we could qualify it for the games, which was last year. And I went down to Caversham, our base, and met Annie, and we did a few training sessions together and started to work out whether this was going to be feasible.
Clearly it has been feasible, because I imagine that timing is a key element in rowing. I was only in a rowing club for about 6 weeks, so I don't know much about it. And I'm just wondering how long it took you to get that really effective with Annie Caddick, your partner.
We went through probably a couple of months before I felt like we were going to be able to deliver some good, consistent training and like whether I could push myself to that level again. And we sat in a combination where I was at stroke, probably have a bit more experience, been through the seasons before and in those racing environments. And we went through last year and we came fourth at the World Championships. But there was always a little bit of we weren't quite getting the most out of each other in that combination. This year we switched it up a little bit and did some testing with Annie at stroke and me sat behind her. And we found out that actually we complement each other a lot better that way round. Maybe me owning some of the calls, some of the decisions, and Annie really being able to lock into that strong rhythm. We had to play through that and trust the process of learning, getting some data and, working out, what makes sense for each other, but also for that boat going as quickly as it could.
Are you going to stay together?
I mean, for now, yes. There's no plans. It's been a crazy whirlwind 18 months, and really, this has been the main thing on the horizon for both of us. So I'm just living in this moment, and I guess over the next couple of months, we'll figure out what we want out of the next few years.
Well, congratulations again. Thanks for coming on to In Touch, Sam.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And we stay on the water, but from the river to the swimming pool, where the younger brother of Paralympic sprint legend Libby Clegg, Stephen, has won a gold of his own in the men's 100 metres backstroke. And finally, a man combining all of the disciplines is Dave Ellis, who took gold in the men's PTVI triathlon. There's still much more competition to come. We'll bring you up to date with results next week. That's all for today. You can contact us by email, intouch@bbc.co.uk. You can leave us a voice message on 0161 836 1338, or you can go to our website, bbc.co.uk/intouch. From me, Peter White, and producer Beth Hemmings, goodbye.
Scaffolding and skips news for the week commencing the 6th of September. In the Newport area, Andrew Ross, 28 Holyrood Street, 71 to 74 Crocker Street, Malthouse Court, Crocker Street, 12 St James Street, 95 High Street, 1 Holyrood Street, 18 Crocker Street, Island Beds, 90 High Street, 47 High Street, Newport, Mencap, 69 High Street, outside the Entertainer, St James Street. And there are skips in 68 Mayfield Drive and at the surgery 16 West Street.
Ride area. Pavement outside 29 to 30 Cross Street, 60 Union Street, 45 George Street, 116 High Street, 39 Nelson Street, 68 George Street, The Nail Guys, 64 High Street, St Leonard's, 1 Pier Road, Seaview, 1 Foreland Road, Bembridge. Ride area skips, 4 Well Street, 51 Stein Road, Bembridge.
In the Ventnor area, Fire Station, 19 South Street, 152 High Street, Hamborough House and Hamborough Road. In the Ventnor area, there are skips, Ventnor Fire Station, 19 South Street, 31 Allotment Road, Knighton, Verbena Cottage, Church Road, Knighton.
Shanklin area skips, 112 Regent Street. Sandown area, 7 Fitzroy Street.
In the Cowes area, 1 Beckford Road, 5 Granville Road and 80 St Mary's Road.
East Cowes area, 4A to 6A Clarence Road. East Cowes area skips, 58 Grange Road.
And in the Totland area, Egan House in the Broadway.
Breading area, Northwood House, 31 High Street.